Good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shoma. On the programme tonight, the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has been summoned by the CBI for questioning over alleged corruption in the capital's now scrapped alcohol sales policy. That's led to the arrest of the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi, the former Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia in February. Kejriwal will now be questioned in connection with the same controversy, the same set of allegations. Now, this has predictably triggered a huge war of words. We'll be looking at that in our first debate. But at half past the hour, and you don't want to miss this, it's being referred to as the holy grail of cancer detection, a test that is now available in India and is said to have 100% accuracy in detecting early stage cancer. It's an Indian test, an Indian company behind it. It's been peer reviewed internationally. It's going to be available across the world, and there is a chance when the prices come down, it could have a real impact on the lives of millions of people in India and around the world. But let's move on now to our top story, and this is a developing story. Arvind Kejriwal, the foremost leader of the Aam Aadmi Party, the man who created the Aam Aadmi Party, has been called in by the CBI for questioning this Sunday in connection with the Delhi liquor policy case. My colleague Ankit joins us for the very latest on this. Ankit, so far the CBI or the ED have stayed away from Arvind Kejriwal. What's changed?
You know, it's Vishnu, for the Aam Aadmi Party and Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, the genesis of the party was anti-corruption plank. And with these kind of allegations, which were now not only just reaching his doorsteps, but actually have, in fact, embroiled the Chief Minister as well. This is going to be a big political challenge also as far as the Chief Minister is concerned. Now, what we know is that there have been certain statements which have been made in which there has been mentioned that certain meetings did take place between the former Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi, Mr. Manish Sisodia, and former Minister Satyendra Jain at the residence of the Chief Minister. That's one, in fact, connection as far as the Chief Minister is concerned. Apart from that, there is already some mention of Mr. Arvind Kejriwal in the Enforcement Directorate charge sheet, in which there is a mention where Vijay Nair, another Aam Aadmi Party functionary who is still in the custody he's in the prison as far as this case is concerned, was said to have made a phone call in which Mr. Kejriwal was assuring somebody from the South lobby that Vijay Nair is his man and they should trust Vijay Nair. So these are the two things that at least at this moment seem to be of some connection as far as the Chief Minister of Delhi is concerned. But importantly, we should also remember that the Delhi Chief Minister doesn't hold any portfolio. It's not that there has been any signature of the Delhi Chief Minister as far as any policy is concerned. Though he is the head of the cabinet, there is a collective responsibility. There has to be some very concrete leads for the CBI to get the Chief Minister of Delhi for this questioning, because there are no two ways to say, but this is going to be a huge political opportunity and also a huge political optics as well for both the Aam Aadmi Party and the Bharatiya Janata Party.
All right, Ankit, we're going to be back with you at about half past the hour as well for a quick update on what this is all about. But joining us now, the Senior Cabinet Minister in the Delhi government, Atishi, and we'll be having this discussion with members of the BJP and others in a little while from now. But Atishi, let me come to you first. The point that's now being raised is that there is fresh evidence against Arvind Kejriwal, which is why he's being questioned on Sunday onwards. How would you respond?
See, Vishnu, fresh evidence seems to indicate there was some evidence in the first place. But so far, neither ED nor CBI has been able to present even 1 rupee of proceeds of crime in this case. The case is that thousands of crores of rupees of corruption has been done, but not 1 rupee has been recovered. Manish Sisodia has been arrested when not a 1 rupee was found at his home, at his ancestral home, at his relative's home, at his office, at his locker. And now, even this source-based allegation that has been repeatedly planted by the CBI and the ED that 10 phones have been destroyed has shown to be false. Half of those phones are deposited with the CBI and ED. The remaining half are functional and turned out to be the phones of staff members of Manish Sisodia's office, in which he had put his SIM card to activate his SIM card.
No,
now,
but Atishi, let me tell you a few other accusations. Is that according to the Enforcement Directorate, there was a video call between Arvind Kejriwal and a liquor scam accused Vijay Nair was acting on behalf of the Aam Aadmi Party, so somewhat as the middleman. And apparently there was 100 crores of payback money which came from the southern group, right? That's that central allegation which you've not been able to get away from.
Vishnu, I can make a counter allegation. I can make an allegation that there was a video call with Vishnu Som and that Amit Shah was sitting on the other side.
No, but
and
seriously.
500 crores were promised.
No, but
Where is
seriously,
the evidence?
this
This is the question.
But
now, anything can be a figment of anyone's imagination. But crimes require evidence. Any kind of prosecution, any kind of arrest requires some evidence.
So there was
is
no video call
evidence
is what you were saying,
But
which took place at
we
Arvind
know the fact,
Kejriwal's house.
Vishnu, where is the evidence? Please show me the evidence.
No, I'm asking you, was there or was there not? This is what is been
How do you
alleged.
counter this?
I'm asking
Of course
you.
there was. See, this is, I am saying, absolutely not.
Okay.
This entire case is a figment of CBI and ED's imagination. And let me tell you this. Tomorrow, if Manish Sisodia and Satyendra Jain were to join Bharatiya Janata Party, then next day they would both be out of jail. All ED cases would be dropped, all CBI cases would be dropped, and they would come out sparkling white in BJP's washing machine, the same way that Subhendu Adhikari did, the same way that Hemant Biswa Sarma did. Now no ED cases against them.
But
no
Atishi,
CBI cases
is
against
it not
them,
fair
no
that if there are
corruption
questions
allegations against them?
Atishi, if there are questions which have been asked, what's the problem in answering them? I understand it's difficult since you feel that there is persecution, but the CBI wants to know why the liquor policy changes were not placed before the Delhi cabinet, right? The CBI wants to question Arvind Kejriwal, presumably, on why profit margins were increased. How are these not valid questions?
I have a simple question. They're happy to question Arvind Kejriwal. They can do anything that they want. I have a simple question. How is it that in a case where not even 1 rupee of proceeds of crime have been found, the former Delhi Deputy Chief Minister has now been in jail for 6 weeks, and a BJP MLA in whose house 8 crore rupees of hard cash were found is going about scot-free?
But
Please
then, Atishi,
explain
the
this
counter
me.
to that
How
point,
does this happen?
and I will.
So it is very clear, Vishnu, it is very clear that the CBI and the ED are being used as tools against those who are raising their voices against the Bharatiya Janata Party.
But Atishi, is it not
clearly
true that
vendetta
every
politics.
time that Manish Sisodia's bail application comes up, ultimately it's a court that allows an extension of his custody. So it's not enough to say that the government has ordained it. Ultimately, it's gone through a court.
Vishnu, please tell me, what is the one piece of evidence that has been found against Manish Sisodia? Not one single piece of hard evidence has been presented in any application so far. Number 2, in Satyendra Jain's case, you have a judge who begins to, in her court, she begins to say, where is the evidence, where is the evidence, where is the evidence? And then what happens? That on the last day, when she is about to pronounce her order, the central government has the audacity to say that we want to change the judge. What does this show? It shows that the BJP is trying to fix the system. It shows that
I get what you're saying,
agencies are being used by the Bharatiya Janata Party to work against the opposition. What else is going on?
Okay, let's see what the
Having said
BJP,
that,
let's see
no
what the
problem to be
BJP,
questioned.
Atishi.
We have no problem to being investigated.
Sure.
I have one question. Let Arvind Kejriwal be investigated. But let Gautam Adani also be investigated. Let a JPC be opened against him. Let us look at the shell companies that were giving him money. Why should only Arvind
Because it's
Kejriwal
already
and
in the
Manish
Supreme
Sisodia
Court.
be investigated?
The Supreme
Why
Court
should
has already
Gautam
ruled,
Why should Gautam
Atishi,
Adani not be
that
investigated?
with some of the most
Why should
best
the
known
Joint
people in this
Parliamentary Committee
country,
not be formed?
right, that there is going to be an investigation done at the level of the Supreme Court. But anyway, that's not what we are talking about over here. Let me bring in Harish Khurana of the BJP. Harish ji, the key point that Atishi mentions is this, that look, there is not a shred of evidence which has been produced against Arvind Kejriwal in terms of kickback money, of actual evidence, or against Manish Sisodia. So how would you respond to that?
Vishnu, hi, and hi to your viewers. I was listening the whole statement of Atishi. She was smiling, but the panic was on her face, also we clearly visualizing it because of the one summon issued by the CBI to the Arvind Kejriwal. Because he is Chief Minister, he can't be summoned. Why? he has to answer few questions about what K. Arvind. K. Arvind was whom? K. Arvind was a bureaucrat. Let's not hide it behind a generic statement कि हम तो कट्टर ईमानदार लोग हैं. You have to give the generic specific answers. K. Arvind was a bureaucrat, and what he said, and I quote that, one day on around mid of March 2021, Deputy CM called him to the residence of Chief Minister Shri Arvind Kejriwal and handed over a 30-page document which was a draft GOM report. Shri Satyendra Jain and Manish Sisodia were also present along with the CM in the house. And उसमें क्या था? What was that there? From 5% to 12% commission was recommended in that GOM report. What is that? Can't the question be asked by CBI? What is your answer, Mr. Chief Minister? So, point is, they are raising a question on Adani. People are fooled. Adani question was being raised a month back or 2 months back. But first arrest was being made in October or November last year. So point is, you can't hide it behind कि हम तो कट्टर ईमानदार है, so we can't be cautioned. If the court is not denying a bail, court is denying a bail to Satyendra Jain, Manish Sisodia, Vijay Nair, and in the prima facie they are saying, court is saying, I quote that, कि prima facie there is evidence of 100 crores transaction has happened. They're still saying vendetta politics is going on. What is this? Don't panic. अभी जो arrest हुआ नहीं, go and answer a few questions. I know it's a hard questions. You have to answer those questions. Let the law do their own course. Why are you so much panic, Atishi?
All right, Atishi, would you like to reply to that? That you're panicking. It's just questions which have to be answered.
I am panicking. See, we have repeatedly said we are not scared of CBI. We are not scared of ED. We are not scared of going to jail. You can hang us if you want tomorrow, but we will not stop exposing the corruption of Bharatiya Janata Party. We will keep raising the issues of the corruption of the Prime Minister. We will keep raising this issue of his collusion with his best friend, of how thousands of crores of rupees come into Adani's company from 6 shell companies that have the same address in Mauritius.
No,
why
but why aren't you answering the questions, Atishi, which are being asked of Arvind Kejriwal? Because a lot of people would say that this is complete deflection.
Vishnu,
Atishi, this is something where the Supreme Court has come out with a very detailed, large panel. You can certainly say what you want. There is an investigation process which is already underway.
So, Vishnu, why are you...
No, I'm not defending. I'm only trying to say what the Supreme Court has said.
Let Harish Khurana defend Adani.
I am not defending Adani or anything. I am saying that I disagree with the point that you are raising. And I'm only stating a fact when I say that there is a Supreme Court investigation into this.
It is very clear.
But why don't you answer questions on this allegation?
From the day...
Vishnu, can you rebut on this?
From the day...
Khurana sahab, one sec, let her finish her point.
Raised the issue. From the day that Arvind Kejriwal raised the issue of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's corruption on the floor of the Vidhan Sabha, it was very clear this was going to happen.
Okay.
Vishnu,
Today you can question him, tomorrow you can arrest him, you may hang him.
The Aam Aadmi Party says tit for tat, the moment he raised this issue of allegations of corruption, this was bound to take place.
Vishnu, see very smartly she dug your question. I asked a specific 2 questions on that. If you are raising an Adani issue, when was it raised? Last week or 10 days before in the Vidhan Sabha, what she's claiming right now. And when was the first arrest happened on the liquor gate? 9 months back, 10 months back. She's not answering that. Point number 2, she's not answering about the K. Arvind statement. K. Arvind, who was the K. Arvind? K. Arvind was a secretary to Manish Sisodia. He was a bureaucrat. And in writing, he has said, in a statement, he said, there was a link. He was being called at a CM residence, and at the presence of CM, everything has been happened. So why not? He can't be answered. He has to be questioned.
Okay.
Point is simple.
Okay, I just want to go across to Ashutosh for the sort of broader political summary of this. Ashu, you were part of, you were very close to Arvind Kejriwal in the past. You've been associated with India Against Corruption in the past. You saw this party being formed, and you saw the dominant role that Arvind Kejriwal had. What does this mean for the Aam Aadmi Party politically that Arvind Kejriwal is being questioned by the CBI on Sunday? I think you're on mute, Ashutosh.
See, Vishnu,
Go ahead.
if I had been Arvind Kejriwal, if I had been member of Aam Aadmi Party, I think would have been more than happy. It's a win-win situation for Arvind Kejriwal and Aam Aadmi Party both, and they should rejoice rather. And it's better if Arvind Kejriwal is sent to the jail by BJP government, because nobody is going to believe that Arvind Kejriwal is corrupt and yet indulge in some kind of there's a kind of perception about a person. See, I think this is a final assault by the BJP government, and why I am saying so for a simple reason, because in 2 days there is a Goa police which has sent Arvind Kejriwal notice under CRPC section 41A that you appear for interrogation on 27th April. Next day, CBI summons him that you appear on Sunday and be interrogated in the liquor scam. And when this is happening, a day before, when Nitish Kumar has met Arvind Kejriwal, and there is a serious opposition unity effort going on. And till now, Arvind Kejriwal was showing inclination for a third front. Now, he has shown inclination that he is willing to go along with the opposition unity. So this is not a coincidence. And why I'm saying so, because till now Arvind Kejriwal has not been sent any notice to appear before CBI or to police and to get interrogated. Within 2 days, this is happening.
Okay.
And in Goa case, this is bizarre. Why he has been summoned by the police as the Chief Minister?
So I get the point you're mentioning. Let's get an answer, Ashutosh.
This is bizarre. This is hilarious, and this is nothing else but vendetta and crackdown.
Harish Ji, the point that he is mentioning is that it's not just one case, it's systematic. And he's named and listed several cases, one after the other. The point being that this is political persecution. How would you respond?
Every time when someone or arrest happens, the same rhetoric is being repeated. You remember when Satyendra Jain tested, what was he saying? Himachal Pradesh election is coming in, so this vendetta politics is coming in. What has happened? 11 months now, he's in jail on the order of the court, not by the order of the ED or by the CBI. Same case happened with Vijay Nair. When Vijay Nair was arrested, because Gujarat elections are coming in, he's a key person of Gujarat, Vijay Nair. So BJP is playing a vendetta politics. What has happened now? Since 5 months he's in jail. Now, same case happened in Manish Sisodia. We are playing a vendetta politics. What is happening? Ultimately, the court is not giving the bail. If ED and CBI has made a false arrest or a political arrest, why court is not giving them the bail? There are some prima facie evidence where the court is also feeling that there is a strong evidence against these people. So my point is, let the law take their own course. Why must so much panic on that? Abhi to arrest hua nahi. Only inquiry has been conducted. Whether CBI will see the arrest will happen or not. Why are you saying arrest ho jayega, arrest ho gaya? Let the law take their own course.
Okay, Ashutosh.
Don't make so much panic.
Ashutosh, go ahead, reply.
I think it's Harish Kharana being a spokesperson of the BJP. Obviously, he'll defend. I have no quarrel with that. But the issue is, the whole world knows that Amit Shah, the Home Minister today, was declared Tadi par by Supreme Court.
I have a strong objection on this. Vishnu, no. I have a strong objection now. He has been acquitted now. Sorry.
Khurana Sahab, half a second. Let him make his point. I'll come to you next.
Let me complete, Harish Khurana. Don't panic.
Make your point, Ashutosh.
I'm making a point. Now, finally, the court has given him clean chit. I still remember, because I was heading a channel at that point of time, and he was in a very important position. BJP then called it a vendetta politics by the Congress. So the political party, when it is in government, they don't find it vendetta politics. When they are in opposition, they find it vendetta politics. I never believed that Amit Shah has indulged in some kind of crime then. But he was not getting bail. He was put in jail. He was declared Tadi par. Now the same person is a Home Minister.
Okay.
So it is nothing a little.
All right, one sec. Harish Khurana, would you like to? Harish Khurana, you had a point. Go ahead.
My point is, at that point of time, I still remember we were in politics. We never made that kind of hue and cry. We always maintained that the law is taking their own course. If the law says bail is denied, we accepted that. We remember 12 घंटे ED की पूछताछ होती थी प्राइम मिनिस्टर की. that time Modi ji was been called by the ED.
Bring in some.
We have never made a march.
called by
We
ED.
have never drew a प्रदर्शन किया. We never did that. So point is not that. Today problem is हम तो कट्टर ईमानदार लोग हैं जी. अरे बाबा, let the court decide whether you are ईमानदार or corrupt. But the point is कि if Arvind is writing something in the court, the question has to be asked. And the answer should be given by the Chief Minister. Point is simple. Why are you making a human cry on that? Why are you playing because we are raising a question on Adani, so we have been targeted? I'm sorry. People are not fooled. People are seeing that since 10 months before the first arrest was happened, and you have raised the question.
Let me ask Ashutosh this. Ashutosh, if you look at the allegations themselves, right? How the government withdrew from liquor sales, brought in private vendors, right? How, the Delhi LG cited a report from a top bureaucrat alleging corruption. How the Delhi LG asked for the CBI probe into the liquor policy, an ED probe into liquor policy alleging money laundering. Prima facie, these are all serious allegations. Do you believe that none of these allegations hold some sort of truth in them?
Vishnu, these are allegations, as you said. There was serious allegation in CWG. It's almost more than 10 years, a decade. Has anybody been proved guilty? In 2G case, serious allegation. You and I had done innumerable, n number of debates on this. That person was in jail for for many months. What happened in the end? In the end, he was given a clean chit by the Supreme Court. So my only submission is, till somebody is proven guilty, let's not call somebody a criminal or that he has been found criminal. Just because somebody has, because if there is a case against me, I will go to the court and I will ask for a bail and I'll get a bail. See, I'm getting a bail. That doesn't mean I'm a criminal. So BJP is turning the entire jurisprudence on its head and trying to say, since Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, they are out in jail, so they are criminal. That way, the similar logic could have been against Amit Shah and other people also.
Okay, all right. Okay, Harish ji has a point to make. Harish ji.
Ashutosh, my friend, I'll take it into a memory lane.
Shivraj Singh Chauhan has not been even asked to appear before ED and CBI in the last 9 years. It's a very serious case.
Ashutosh, 1 second. Harish ji, go ahead. I need to start wrapping this up. Go ahead.
Ashutosh, you said till that time it's not guilty, it's not to be there. I'll take you to 2014 or 13 when you were with the Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal doing a press conference. क्या कहते थे वो लोग? कि no, first give the resignation, then you prove yourself. You remember that? You were also in that press conference, you still remember. You gave a list, Sheila Dikshit, P. Chidambaram, all those people. You were also present at that time. Now you are saying, till that time you have been guilty, you will not be proven. उस वक्त क्या आपकी statement थी? आज आपकी क्या statement है? So my point is, you were the one, your party, ex-party was the one who has created this whole scenario. Ki no, we are the Kattar Imandar, we have a high standard of morality. So please, let now the what morality? 9 months.
Okay, Harish ji, 1 second. Let Ashutosh reply to that.
I'll see. Firstly, in 2013, I was not in Aam Aadmi Party. I joined Aam Aadmi Party in 2014. There is no iota of truth that I ever sat with Arvind Kejriwal and said that there is a case against them, they should be criminal guilty. Harish Khurana is very smart spokesperson. I take that. He's a very smart one. So he's also creating narrative because I am questioning BJP's and the government's intent. I take it in that sense.
No, but Ashutosh,
check your facts.
Just in terms of the allegations which have been raised, the entire set of allegations of this video conference which has taken place in Arvind Kejriwal's house, which resulted in apparently 100 crores coming in from the South Group, money which was used to finance the Aam Aadmi Party in Goa. Is there nothing over here which you see to be plausible?
It's a serious allegation. This has to be investigated, and let the investigating authority put facts before the court and let the court come to the judgment. My only submission is that there cannot be two laws in this country, one for the opposition and one for the BJP. I cited the case of Vyapam and Shivraj Singh Chauhan. Very serious case, has serious allegations.
No, but Harishji, this is a key point. If you look at the rate of the government or the agencies going after opposition leaders, it is about 95% plus more than what it is for those affiliated to the government.
Vishnu, you are a veteran
Politician, apparently.
Not politician.
After this program, I'll be called that. But please go ahead. Yes.
No, you're a veteran journalist. You remember pre-2014, I'm talking about Manmohan Singh's government, Congress government. How many cases on BJP there was? How many cases on BJP? Not opposition. How many cases were there on the BJP only? I think negligible. If you say that, we take action. If Karnataka case has come up, we took action. He was arrested. So my point is, if still the people have some problem with the BJP.
So he was on the run. He was looking
why
for.
Why can't you go to court? Why can't you go to
court? He wasn't exactly.
In Chara Ghotala, Sushil Modi was the one who raised this question. You remember, he was in opposition. Sushil Modi was who was the complainant. And later on, he was convicted in a fourth
All right, last word, Ashutosh.
So if Ashutosh has some proof, go and in the court now. Why? Who's stopping them?
Vishnu, today is a bad day for Harish Kunana. He hasn't done his homework. In Karnataka, the person was not arrested by police, but arrested by Lokayukt police under the instruction of the court. So don't take credit for that.
किसने arrest किया भाई?
लोकायुक्त पुलिस ने किया सर.
All right.
मेरी होगा ना.
All right. Look, gentlemen, we'll leave it over there. Let me just. Okay. Bring down their sounds now. Okay, peace, everybody. I suspect there'll be no peace on Sunday onwards. We're going to take a short break at this stage, but just for the benefit of our viewers who've joined us, it's a day when intense political activity is just starting to take place in the national capital. Arvind Kejriwal, the Chief Minister of Delhi, he's been called by the CBI in connection with the excise scam, as it's known. He's going to be questioned on Sunday onwards. Remember, his former Deputy Chief Minister, Manish Sisodia, already behind bars. Where is this all headed? We're going to take a short break and we're going to come up and then explain exactly where it stands now in terms of the allegations which have been raised and also the possible political consequences. That's up next. Welcome back. In case you've just joined us, the big story that we continue to track today, and there'll be lots of updates coming in. The Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has been summoned by the CBI. What exactly is this all about? My colleague Ankit Tyagi's got many more details and joins us now. Ankit.
Well, Vishnu, let's just first tell our audience, why has Mr. Kejriwal been summoned in the alleged liquor policy scam by the CBI? Now, Mr. Kejriwal has been summoned after detailed questioning of the former Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia. Now, the CBI says that Sisodia was evasive on the increased profit margin in the liquor policy for wholesalers. CBI wants to question Mr. Kejriwal on why the profit margin was increased. The CBI also wants to understand why liquor policy changes were not placed before the cabinet, which Arvind Kejriwal heads. The CBI also wants Mr. Kejriwal to answer these questions as the head of the government, as the Chief Minister and the man responsible for the collective responsibility of the Delhi government. Now, one more important aspect, if I may add to this, see, Arvind, who was former Principal Secretary as far as the Deputy Chief Minister is concerned, he in his statement to a magistrate under Section 164 had said that Mr. Kejriwal's residence was the meeting point where both the former Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia and Mr. Satyendra Jain had called him and asked him to increase the margin from 6% to 12%. So Mr. Kejriwal's residence was the meeting point. CBI wants to know whether he had any knowledge as far as this was concerned. Apart from that, though it's not with the CBI, there is important, this is what the CBI claims or the ED claims is an important evidence against Mr. Kejriwal. He's, remember, not part of the list of accused or of any FIR. But the Enforcement Directorate in a charge sheet had mentioned, and that is why I left that gate open, where they said that a video call was made between the Chief Minister and liquor scam accused Mr. Vijay Nair, who was Aam Aadmi Party's Chief Communications Officer. Now, the ED charge sheet also claims that Vijay Nair arranged this call between the Chief Minister and Indo-Spirit MD. That's basically the South lobby that the CBI and the ED keeps referring to. Arvind Kejriwal told Indo-Spirit's Mahindru that Vijay Nair is my boy and trust him. So it was a vote of confidence from Arvind Kejriwal that Vijay Nair, whatever deal he's making with the South Group, has full knowledge of Mr. Arvind Kejriwal. That's the insinuation that the Enforcement Directorate wants to, in fact, infer to. Now, the ED also says Vijay Nair, on behalf of the Aam Aadmi Party, got 100 crores from the South Group. The South Group is K. Kavita, the leader of the BRS, MS Reddy of YSRCP, and Sarath Reddy of the Aurobindo Pharma. Now, the ED says the South Group gave 100 crores in advance for licenses in Delhi liquor policy, and these kickbacks were used by the Aam Aadmi Party through Vijay Nair in the elections of Goa. 70 lakhs were given to volunteers of the Aam Aadmi Party survey team. So this is all part of the Enforcement Directorate charge sheet, Vishnu, and that is the reason why Mr. Arvind Kejriwal has been called. But remember, it's just not the investigation that we'll be looking at on Sunday, and from here on, it will also be the politics.
All right, thanks very much, Ankit, for sharing those details with us. Well, we're going to move on to something completely different. If you feel that a lot of what we've been covering over the last 1 hour or so has been about cynical politics, one way or the other, and allegation after allegation, well, then here's something that brings us hope. This is new technology. It's Indian technology. It's an early cancer detection technology, which can actually have a huge impact on millions of lives, not just in India, but around the world. It's being referred to as the holy grail of cancer detection. It's a simple blood test. It's now available in India. A test that's been designed by India's Epigeneris Biotech along with Singapore's Zar Lab. The chairperson of Epigeneris is Ashish Tripathi, who comes from a singularly accomplished family. He has worked with his brother Anish on this technology, and his brother is the well-known author Amish. But what we're talking about here, in simple terms, has been described as the biggest breakthrough in molecular diagnostics to detect early-stage cancer. And the test, which is, as I mentioned, the simple blood test, is now available in India. Ashish Tripathi joins us. Thanks, Ashish, very much for being with us. You know, we discussed this several months back, and there was a lot of optimism, there was a lot of hope in the technology itself. It's now available in India. In simple terms, is this technology that can potentially save countless lives?
Vishnu, it is, because firstly, you were one of the first journalists that covered our story when we had completed our 1,000-patient study. But what we had told you at that stage was that this was the first pan-cancer blood test, and two, it was the first prognostic test for cancer. So not only can we tell you that you do not have cancer, but more interestingly, we can tell you that you will not get cancer for the next 1 year. What I had promised you on your show was that that we would be launching this product in India first, because this is where the breakthrough was made, and this is where we conducted the first clinical studies. Right now, we already have our NHS trials started, and for that matter, we are actually also getting into US trials. But that said, I'm very proud to have actually, for our lab to have actually come up in India. You had also interviewed my elder brother Anish with me, and he's the person who actually heads Epigeneris, and he's been instrumental in making some very key breakthroughs to be able to standardize the process in India. And this is going to be a massive breakthrough, because if you can detect all cancers from a simple blood test, the vision that we have is all of us need to do this test once a year, and we will always catch cancer at stage 1 or before, when it is infinitely more curable.
Ashish, how much does the test cost?
It is going to be priced at 14,000 in India, just so that you know that this test is going to be priced at about £400 in the UK and about $500 in the US. But once again, our intent was to keep the pricing as low as we possibly could in our home market, and our promise also is that we will keep driving that price down as we increase the capacity and we get the economies of scale. We want all of us, all 8 billion of us, doing this test once a year. So we will keep driving this price down so that it's most affordable to, and everyone does this test.
What about peer reviews? Where do you stand with that?
So, Vishnu, actually, the last 3 weeks have been surreal because we got published in Stem Cell Journal. That's Oxford Academia's Stem Cell Journal. And, for a scientific company, it's always satisfying to be published in a high impact factor journal. And our article for the scientists among you that are watching your show has become one of the most well-read papers in the last 3 weeks. In fact, I would encourage you to take a look at the altmetric score. And it's literally been retweeted by Harvard professors, NHS scientists, and University of Paris scientists. We've also been published in New York Post, Daily Express in the UK, Marie Claire in France, and so on and so forth. But what is, of course, very satisfying is when you get published in a high impact factor journal. And the reason this article was important was because we have disclosed the science of how this particular technology works. And that was a very critical piece that we had promised we would do when we were launching our service, and we have put our science out there, which is one of the reasons why we intend to do, we're getting so much attention from even US labs to conduct follow-on trials.
And so the initial trials were what, 1,000 individuals who were tested?
Yeah. So the Indian study was a 1,000-patient study, 500 cancer, 500 non-cancer. And if you remember, we had got a very, very high sensitivity and specificity result because actually we detected each and every non-cancer patient and we detected each and every cancer patient. In fact, most of the scientists struggle to find out how can you get this high level of sensitivity. There's no magic. I mean, now that the science is out, we can actually explain to you the breakthrough was that we realized that there were certain stem cells that were getting epigenetic changes and becoming cancer stem cells. The cancer stem cells grow into cancer cells. 1 billion cancer cells come together to form a tumor. Once the tumor forms, it sheds its outer layers, which are CTCs, and when they break down, they release their contents, which is ctDNA and cell-free RNA. All the liquid biopsy companies in the West were busy looking at these resultant markers, tumor pieces and the tumor fragments. What we had stumbled on was a causative marker, which actually shows up in the blood 18 months before the tumor even forms. So by the time the tumor forms, you're getting very, very loud signals, as opposed to CTCs and ctDNA, which are only starting to form, right, once the tumor has formed. And effectively, to see them at an early stage in the blood is very, very difficult. And that was the reason why we made this breakthrough.
And in terms of regulation in India, because before you are allowed to market this, obviously, and sometimes our processes are tougher than anywhere else in the world. Where do you stand? I mean, you've obviously gone through that process. The reason I'm asking you all of this is because, it is very much the holy grail. And I think it's important for our viewers to understand that A, it's been peer reviewed, it's been published, and it's gone through a regulatory framework. And therefore, my question is, again, in India, where were you or where are you in that regulatory framework?
Vishnu, we have actually got the permissions to be able to launch this as a private service in India already, for the simple reason that we have actually already completed a 1,000-patient study. But we are in more advanced discussions even with ICMR to do larger studies in India. What is particularly satisfying for us, though, is that the imperial study, and not to belate the point, but the reality is that even for Indian doctors and scientists, it is important once you have actually got results in a Western study. Right. And the interesting thing from our perspective is that, look, our imperial study has started. But what is gratifying is just this week, NIHR, which is the main funding body of NHS, has actually just given us a grant to do a larger study for lung cancer as well, with a very respected university. And not just that, the ex-president of the cancer moonshot, President Biden's and President Obama's moonshot, has just joined our medical advisory board. and he has made some very critical, introductions for us, even in the US. And we are in fact in talks with Mount Sinai and NYU to do follow-on studies there as well. So it's a big year for us. I mean, we are going to be doing Western trials. We have launched in India, and the other major breakthrough that we've made is we've just partnered with a US company to automate certain critical parts so that we can significantly increase the capacity of blood samples that we can process, and that again actually will help us drive down the price and actually do many more samples than what we currently can.
And would you be looking, for example, at a publication in, let's say, Lancet in the future, just in terms of the technology, the acceptability, the peer reviews, that sort of thing, the process? Again, it is so important because it's almost a miracle what you've come out with over here, and there'd be people watching this and saying, oh, how do we know it actually works? What do others have to say? And hence I asked that question.
Vishnu, Oxford Academia Stem Cell Journal is a very, very respected journal, and we are speaking to other journals as well. As you know, that you have to go, you can't publish the same, breakthrough in multiple journals, right? But the reality is that there are other papers that we are actually speaking to other respected journals about. We are also, we are reaching out to Lancet and New England and other journals as well. The way we see it is that we know how critical the Western studies are, because once we have completed those studies, right, I think you're going to see a significant amount of interest already. I mean, if you've actually followed the story, it's in social media, this time around,
it's incredible, and I have followed that story. And I think perhaps the most impressive part of that story is your tests for early detection of cancer so far is at 100%. In other words, if the test is done properly, obviously, right, then you will get a result one way or the other. And the result is cancer is absent, it's imminent, or it's present, right?
Vishnu, if I can just actually state one thing, because this is a very critical point that you've raised, and a lot of scientists actually struggle with how do you actually get such high sensitivity and specificity. And if you don't mind, if I can just explain
it. Go ahead, please, I'm all ears.
Right? There is something called a Gompertzian model. It was coined by an English scientist called Benjamin Gompertz, where he plotted the number of tumor cells, right, on the y-axis and time on the x-axis, right? And what he said is that cancer goes through three phases: early phase, rapid expansion phase, and the plateau phase, right? And he said the tragedy of cancer today is we only understand the disease in the plateau phase, which is from 1 billion to 1 trillion cells of cancer. Now, what does that mean? 1 billion cells of cancer is a 1 cubic centimeter tumor. It's a small tumor in any cancer. And by the time that you reach 1 trillion cells, you've passed fourth stage and you've got fatality, right? But 1 billion cells don't form in a day, right? The reality is the reason we are an early detection company is because we have figured out how to read the different stages of non-cancer. Remember that all the liquid biopsy companies, they are looking for tumor cells. So the absence of tumor cells indicates non-cancer, right? While we get a physical reading for the stages of non-cancer. Absence of evidence is not the same as evidence of absence, right? The reason we can actually detect this cancer so early is because we detect it at 100 million cells. Right. We detected at 1 million cells. We detected at 10,000 cells. We detected at 1 cell. We detected 6 months before the first cell is born, because we are not interested in the cancer cell, but the causative cell, which is the cancer stem cell. And that is the reason for our high sensitivity and specificity, right? Yeah. Now, that said, this is not to say that if you actually do 100,000 studies, we may not get a couple of errors. But the fact of the matter is that if you're trying to actually compare this with a cancer cell approach, right, we have a significant advantage because our cells show up in the blood a long time before the tumor cells ever do. And that's the reason for our success.
Now, one of the reasons, all of you went about with this study and got the idea is because the late super cop in Mumbai, Himanshu Roy, tragically died, was diagnosed with cancer, and then, he passed away. But he's somebody who's influenced your family very closely. I mean, could you tell us about that influence? In fact, the test itself, as I understand it, is called HR with a particular number attached to it, right? So could you tell us, our viewers, about that link?
Vishnu, look, journalists like you have actually spoken to my late brother-in-law,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And in my humble opinion, he was one of the most mesmerizing, one of the biggest intellectuals that, I ever met. Right, a few weeks before he had passed away, right, and he had a curious sense of humor, if you remember, right. But he had actually he was sitting with me, and he had picked up one of his chemo medicines, and he asked me, Ashish, have you seen, I don't know, there was some obscene figure like 8-9 lakhs disappear in a second. And I said, no, I haven't. So he just put the pill in his mouth, drunk it, and he started laughing. And he said, Ashish, we can afford it, but the reality is, what are the poor even supposed to do, right? The cancer has become such an expensive disease, right? That it is. I know of affluent families. My wife is Australian, who have actually put all their wealth to try and save one member of the family. And the tragedy is that after spending all that money, you don't even save that person, and the family has gone bankrupt, right? And the reality is, the only real solution with cancer is actually finding it early. And that is what our vision is. We are going to drive down the price of this test because we want everyone doing this test once a year, because we believe that if you do that, we will turn cancer into an early stage disease when it is infinitely more curable. And
so
that
let's
is the
talk
way.
brass tacks over here. It's just a simple blood test. And how long before the report comes?
So right now it does take us about a week, right? Like I said, we are automating it, right? And Elon Musk had once said that making a breakthrough in a lab is one thing, right? Making it into a production process is actually complicated. Right, and to that extent, I'm kind of lucky. Look, I unfortunately lost my father, 1.5 years back, and he was the main driver behind this breakthrough. But I'm so glad that the other gentleman, my brother who you interviewed the last time as well, along with me, he's cut from the same cloth, and he has made such major breakthroughs in the processing of these samples, and we're so glad. Look, we've got some very cutting-edge scientists that are doing phenomenal work. This breakthrough has been entirely made in India, and it's something that it just makes me so proud that India obviously has.
So tell us, Ashish, a little bit about that, because that is fascinating. We are, for example, brilliant in India in replicating medicines. We are champions in making vaccines, for example. Very often the vaccines aren't our own design, but now increasingly they are as well. But when you tell me that there were Indian scientists who were actually responsible for developing this test, could you tell us a little bit about the people who actually did it, who actually came up with the formula on the basis of which, this is a game changer?
So I'll tell you, look, we've got a strong team of 72 people working in the company right now, right? But there were some 10 to 12 people that were very, very critical. There is, led by my father, of course. But the reality is that we have certain scientists that have, we have a scientist who was a very senior scientist in ICMR. Right, who actually heads our research arm. There are other scientists that are Harvard scientists that have actually been trained in the UK for a long time, and we've got a very, very sharp team. And believe me, we will actually put this out in more detail in due course. But this breakthrough is really thanks to them, because. We will actually put out the entire story, because there are many parts where we had roadblocks, and it was brilliant the way these guys have actually been able to solve it, right? But if I can add another thing, that something that gets forgotten is that these cells per se were not found by us. It was found by an American scientist in an American university. It's just that they had found it in tissues next to the tumor cells. Right? And what they had hypothesized, in fact, they had hypothesized that these cells are growing into the tumor cells, but it had no diagnostic value, because what is the diagnostic value of a small cell sitting next to a tumor telling you there's a tumor close by? If you can zoom in, see the cell, will zoom out and see the tumor. The tumor itself is so small, you're not going to see it, right? The breakthrough that our scientists realized was that we could isolate them in peripheral blood. And then, of course, we realized the diagnostic potential of this. Right, but the point is that it's a leap in. But there was a lot of primary research that had been done by scientists in the U.S., in Europe, in Asia, right? And so breakthroughs like this actually are the workings of many great minds, right? But this is not to take away from our own very special scientists.
And Ashish, I'm just trying to understand, what are your next timelines or your goals? I mean, you're now setting up in Bombay. I believe you're going to be in Delhi soon as well. You've got a timeline for more research in the United Kingdom. You're tying up with people in the United States. When will this test be commonly available around the world?
So, you know that Kotak Private Equity and Satya Capital actually invested in us last year, and we do have some marquee scientists. The reality is that what was critical for us was to be able to turn this into a production process, because that's what makes this into a growth engine, right?
Yes.
And we've achieved that in Bombay. What our investors now want is for us to actually open multiple other centers in India, and therefore we will be doing a capital raise in India as well. But what is pretty interesting is that there has been a lot of interest from both strategics and financial investors in the West, because once they get over their incredulity of that this could be real, right, and they've understood the science, right, cancer is a problem that a lot of people have been trying to solve, right, for the last couple of decades. I mean, don't forget that President Nixon had said we'll solve the problem in the decade of the 70s. And of course, we've got President Biden, who's actually working very, very hard to find, and that's what the Cancer Moonshot is doing. So believe me, there are very special minds that are actually trying to solve this problem. And now that we are in touch with them, we will actually, once we've completed the Western trials, this is going to actually find a way into the Western systems very quickly as well. But you have to follow the regulatory paths in the different countries, right? And that's essentially what we're doing.
A final question, this applies to all cancers, right?
By the way, we've written our science of why we believe it works on all cancers, because these stem cells are the culprits for all cancers, right? But remember that what we should claim is the clinical study that we have done. And right now, we have done it on 25 cancers. All the big ones were there: breast, ovarian, lung, leukemia, prostate, pancreatic. The reason the Indian scientists and doctors were so impressed was because it was working on solid cancers, it's working on blood cancers, it's working on soft tissue sarcomas. But cancer is a complex disease. There are 200 different types of cancer, 3,000 subtypes, right? So it will take us a little bit of time to finish all the cancers, right? But yes, our view is that this will work on all cancers.
Look, Ashish, we'll be tracking your story very closely. It's absolutely fascinating science, and it gives hope, I think, to so many around the world, and it will save lives if it's not already starting to do that. And hopefully it will be available at a less expensive price going forward, as it's accepted not just in India, but around the world. Wonderful speaking to you. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.